Okay, so another crappy webcam video. This one is about male characters in fairy tales and fairy tale retellings. Tim from the Bumblesbee channel mentioned that there don't seem to be a lot of male-driven fairy tales, or a lot of fairy tales that are geared toward male readers. And I initially agreed, but then when I started thinking about it, I realized that that's actually not necessarily the case. I think it's more a matter of perception. So I sat down to make a list of just the ones that I could think of off the top of my head, and was surprised how many I was able to come up with. And then just doing a little bit of sleuthing, a little Googling and digging around on Goodreads, just looking at the lists, I was able to spot quite a few that I knew had male leads, or shared the spotlight with a female lead. And I'm sure if I was willing to click on each one and read the synopsis, I would find even more. So I'm going to give you my brief list of books that I know have male leads, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. Here are the books that I was able to come up with. Cloaked by Alex Flynn. This one is a take on a lot of tales, but I guess that the main character you would kind of consider the cobbler from The Elves and the Shoemaker. Princess of the Midnight Ball by Jessica Day George. I think most people would look at this cover and look at the word princess in the title and automatically assume that the main character is a female. But it's based on the 12 Dancing Princesses, which follows a male main character. He's a soldier who is trying to win his fortune by figuring out a mystery for the king. Book of Lost Things by John Connolly. I mentioned this one in my top 10 favorite fairy tale retellings video, and maybe forgot to mention that the 12-year-old main character is a boy. Beastly by Alex Flynn. I think Alex tends to approach things from the male main character, which is interesting because Alex is a woman. But yes, Beastly obviously follows the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. Calamity Jack by Shannon Hale. Obviously he is Jack, loosely of Jack and the Beanstalk. The Hero's Guide to Saving Your Kingdom by Christopher Healy. This follows 4 Prince Charmings who are known for their various tales: Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Rapunzel, and Snow White. Thornspell by Helen Lowe. This follows the male half of the Sleeping Beauty story as he tries to awaken Sleeping Beauty. Birdwing, which is a retelling of the Seven Swan story. Birdwing follows the 7th brother who gets an incomplete shirt and is left with 1 swan wing. Enchanted by Alethea Contis. The main character is definitely Sunday. She's on the cover. The book is about her and her family. But you may be surprised to find that the story alternates between Sunday narrating and Prince Rumbold narrating. Sweetest Spell by Suzanne Selfers. This one again has 2 main characters narrating things, and I would say favors the female character, but it does alternate back and forth between Emmeline Thistle and Owen Oak. So those are the books that I could think of offhand that I know have male leads, or at least that I know have male narrators. But there are also plenty of other fairy tales that have male main characters, even if they're not narrators, and are actually huge focuses of the book. And when I stop to think about it, I think that's probably almost every fairy tale retelling. Even if it's narrated by a woman, most fairy tales revolve around a romance. So even if the man isn't narrating, he's still a huge part of the book. Even a book like Melinda Lowe's Ash, which is essentially an LGBT retelling of Cinderella, even that has a crucial male main character who's even sort of set up as a love interest. So when I realized this, and I had this whole long list within a matter of minutes, it got me to thinking about the fact that a lot of fairy tales do have male characters. So if the fairy tales have male main characters, then obviously the retellings are going to have them too. So just in the tales themselves, you've got people like Jack, Rumpelstiltskin, Hansel from Hansel and Gretel, Dick Whittington, various unnamed Miller's sons, Bluebeard, the Beast, the Cobbler from The Elves and the Shoemaker, the Soldier from the 12 Dancing Princesses, various peddlers and beggars, the old guy from the Brementown Musicians. You've got a Naked Emperor, Godfather Death, the Gingerbread Man. So obviously there are quite a few male main characters, and I think as a result they are just as big a part of the fairy tales as the princesses and damsels and whatever else. So I think then what this really comes down to is perception and marketing. I think people perceive fairy tales to be for girls because at some point boys are supposed to grow out of it. You know, you can want to be a knight in shining armor when you're a kid and you can want to slay the dragons, but at some point you're supposed to grow up and become a man. You're not supposed to like fairy tales anymore, but girls get a little more leeway. We're allowed to delude ourselves into thinking about Prince Charming for our entire lives if we really want to. So I think the books are definitely marketed more toward women because of that, and this shows in the covers and the princesses. Things like the fact that in The Princess and the Hound, even though the main character is male, the title is still The Princess and the Hound. There are a lot of pretty dresses on these covers, there are a lot of swooning and sighing and sleeping ladies on these covers, and that's because they know that most of the people that are going to be buying these stories are women, and most men probably wouldn't be caught dead with them. So I'm curious what you guys think. Do you think that fairy tales are just as much for boys, and do you have any titles that you know of and love that have male main characters? But I'm also curious what your thoughts are on the idea of marketing and perception. So, Tim, that's my response to your question about where are all the guys in fairy tales and in Fairy Tale Fortnite. That's all for me for now, and happy Fairy Tale Fortnite!